Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we got 7.34. I'm very excited to get into this patch, and it is a massive patch. So if you expect this video to be short, well, you probably don't, because you can see the length of the video. But this is going to be a very long video. There's a ton of things to cover. I'm going to try to give as many opinions as I can about every new item that has changed, every new hero that has changed. Yeah, let's get into it. Also, if you guys are interested in more 7.34 content and want to get a jump on the patch, over on the Gamely website, it's currently 50% off, but over on the Gamely website, I'm going to be making a ton of content basically talking about the new builds that you can go, the new heroes you can try, and all the new strategies you can use for this new patch. So if you're interested in that, this is the time to sign up. This is currently 50% off. All you got to do is use the code SUMMER in the checkout. And yeah, hope to see you guys there. Click the link down below. And let's get back into the video. So in this video, I'm not going to focus very much on some of the general updates. I'm not going to focus on Captain's Mode Order, as I just don't think it applies to most of you guys. I'm not going to focus on alternative cast abilities. However, I do want to read some of these general changes we have here. Added a new stat, slow resistance. What this is some items and some heroes have slow resistance. For instance, if you buy an armlet, you have 35% slow resistance. So let's say you get slowed, it only affects you for 65% of the original slow. So basically, it makes you better against slows. Pretty simple idea. After that, Scan has 2 charges, which is pretty crazy, right? This means that you can really stat out the enemy team very frequently. Don't forget to use it, guys, right? If you're afraid a smoke gank is coming, pop a Scan. The next change is a funny one because I don't even think a lot of people realize this was in the game, but killing Roshan no longer grants control of any watchers on the map. I don't think people knew this. When you took Roshan, you got every single watcher on the map. I honestly didn't even know that until like semi-recently, which is sad. But that was the thing. I'm glad it's out of the game because it was actually quite stupid how much map control you got from taking Rosh. Then we have main jungle watchers for both Radiant and Dire have been moved. Not going to focus on that. Adjusted the position of the triangle watchers. Moved both outposts from main jungle to the triangles, which I actually like because no one used the outposts. Like, it was very uncommon to actually use these outposts throughout the game just because, well, they don't give any XP bonus. It takes a long time to TP to them. You would only really use it if someone was dead on your team and you needed to TP to like help with a high ground push. That was basically it, so I think changing that is a cool idea. Mighty Mines buff in Mines from 4 HP regen to 7. This is just some shit in the back of the map near the side camps that gives you HP regen, but like no one even went close to it. It's pretty irrelevant, but whatever, it can come into play, I guess. Now let's get into the items. So Blood Grenade is now cheaper, but what's kind of crazy is it's cheaper, but it has the same effect, right? So it's just as strong. It does just as much damage and 15% slow, which is kind of crazy, but you only get 2 of them to start, and then you barely get any of them, right? So they're extraordinarily effective. They're very cheap and do way too much, and you should be buying them, but you don't get a lot of them anymore. So use them wisely. That's basically what this is. Refresher Shard now provides 20 damage, 6 mana regen, and 12 HP regen. So it's actually quite important to hold Refresher Shard, one of the items you get from Roshan on heroes, I would say specifically that need mana regen. 6 mana regen is incredible, right? It's hard to come by mana regen, so on heroes that might have mana regen problems, this is unbelievably good. Smoke of the Sea is now 10 seconds longer, and while the caster is still disguised, any allies that come within range of them also get the buff. Each smoke can only be applied once to allies. I mean, this is unbelievable, right? And in fact, it is something you have to be careful about, right? Because let's say you smoke behind your mid laner and you happen to walk close to them. You're gonna accidentally smoke them and show the enemy team that you're smoked. So you actually have to be very careful. This change is not as small as you might think. You might be like, oh, I can click smoke, and if I messed up, I can get my teammate in it anyway. And that's true, you can do that. And that's a good use case, right? You mess up your smoke, whatever, they can walk in anyway. That's pretty cool and actually quite useful. But you gotta be careful. If your teammate is showing and you walk up, you're gonna smoke them and the enemy team will know. So be careful about that. Random ass change to nerf Prophet, kind of. Arcane Blink now restores 200 health and 100 mana when used, which is pretty damn good for healing considering it's a 7-second cooldown. Armlet now gives 35% slow resistance, which is quite good on a hero like Huskar, right? This is actually very good for Huskar, preventing him from being as kiteable. Battle Fury got 5 damage, but the Quell bonus was nerfed, so it's better against heroes, but just about the same against creeps. Crystallis, the recipe was decreased, so Crystallis is cheaper, which makes the item definitely better. It's not a bad item for only 1900 gold, definitely something to consider on certain carries. They buffed Daedalus by 50 gold, which comes from the Crystallis change, but they actually nerfed Silver Edge. sort of. It's technically the same price, but the recipe is more expensive, right? Because it does build from Chrysalis, so the recipe cost gets canceled out. Desolator, maximum damage increased from 20 to 30, so you can get up to 30 damage on Deso now, right, by killing people. That's pretty good. Extra 10 damage is very nice, right? Solid. Does require you to get kills to build this up, which I think requires 6 kills if I'm not mistaken, which is kind of a lot of kills to get maxed out Deso, but on a hero like TA, you'll probably get that, and it's a nice little buff. Diffusal Blade no longer roots creeps, instead applies a slow. I don't think most people even knew that was a thing, but that was the thing. Disperser. Suppress now affects all units in a 350 AoE. Suppressor no longer... Okay, so basically, you can diffusal slow and dispel enemies in a 350 AoE, which is honestly pretty damn good. Hand of Midas now has 2 charges. Initially comes with 1, so no, it's not as good as you might think. And the charge restore time is longer than the old 90 seconds. It is technically a worse item if you were perfect about using Midas, right? If you used Midas literally off cooldown to the second, it was better before. Now, let's say there's no creeps around, or you want to fight, or you're smoked and you don't want to show, well, you don't have to use it. You can just use it later because it's going to start ticking up and you can get to 2 charges. So you should never really get to 2 charges, but it basically means that if you're in the middle of doing something, you don't have to freak out that you're not using your Midas. Harpoon now has a mana cost. This is a big change. Halberd can now be BKB. I don't know if you guys knew this, but basically, let's say you put Halberd on Medusa, and then Medusa clicked BKB, she would still be disarmed. However, if Medusa BKBs and then you clicked Halberd on her, it wouldn't disarm her. It was a very weird interaction, but that's how it worked. Now it prevents you from being able to disarm. So basically, you can BKB off Halberd. It's a big deal for ranged heroes, like a big deal. Helm of the Dominator now increases neutral creep abilities by 1, which actually seems decent for Helm heroes. Holy Locket, if you refresh it, you get full 20 charges, not terrible. Lincoln Sphere, you basically can't stack Lincoln Spheres on allies. I don't know if you guys knew that as well, but you could put 3 or 4 Lincolns on a teammate if you wanted to. Now you can't do that, you can only have 1 at a time. Maelstrom now deals bonus damage to illusions, and a lot at that, so the ability to deal with a Naga Siren or a PL by buying Mjolnir, or Radiance, got the same change, is even better than ever. So the idea of buying these items against illusions is extremely reasonable. Monkey King Bar is now quite a bit cheaper, 75 gold less. Not insane, I would say the item is about the same. Nullifier now no longer works through BKB, which I think is a great change because the item was a little bit too good at killing people in the late game. Even if you BKB'd, you just couldn't get out. You couldn't get Force Staffed, Glimmered, or whatever. It was a little bit too good, and I like this change. So Overwhelming Blink, it does less damage when you blink in, but it does 100% of your strength as damage over time, which I believe is for a long time. Isn't the slow like 4 or 5 seconds? So if you have 100, this has got to be way more damage, right? Like way more damage. Honestly, this seems kind of OP to some extent on a hero with high strength gain. That might, if I'm reading this right, guys, Overwhelming Blink might be kind of crazy. Revenant's Brooch, the active no longer gives attack speed, and now, oh, whoa, that's cool. So when you use Revenant's Brooch, it reduces their magic resistance by 20%, which is pretty damn good. Atos was changed in a major way. The recipe was changed and now requires a Staff of Wizardry, which is 1,000, right? Then a Vitality Booster, 1,000, and then a 250 gold recipe. It is 500 gold cheaper, guys. 500 gold. However, it doesn't build from crowns. So a hero like Meatbow or Snapfire, one of these universal heroes that would abuse all the stats, don't get nearly as much benefit, as you don't get any strength or any agility, and you get reduced intelligence. And so the item is really only good if you're playing a hero that needs a root. For instance, I would say this is somewhat of a buff to Skywrath Mage. Why? Because, well, you just want to get the item fast. Were the crowns good on Skywrath? Yes. Were they necessary? Not necessarily. They were good, but not necessary per se. And so, yeah, it's kind of cool, right? Much cheaper to get Atos, and it gives you 300 health, which isn't necessarily that good because it kind of already gave you that with the strength it gave, but basically it's cheaper. Good on int heroes, not very good on universal heroes, is how I would see it. Gleipnir is now much cheaper at 500 gold cheaper. However, it doesn't give you any of the strength or agility it did before, but it does give you health. That is because it's built from Atos, right? So essentially Gleipnir and the upgraded Gleipnir much cheaper, But if you're buying this on a right clicker, you don't get any of the strength. More importantly, you don't get any of the agility on a hero like Furion that might buy it. And so you can't feel, once again, that good about it, but it is much cheaper at the end of the day. Shiva's Guard does more damage to illusions on the active. Basher does a little bit of extra damage, and so does Abyssal. Soaring is now cheaper by 50 gold, and you get way more mana. You get 20 extra mana, so a buff to Soaring, pretty nice. Spirit Vessel, in my opinion, was also buffed pretty significantly, as instead of being built from a vitality booster, it now gets to crowns. So maybe this will become the item that you buy on Universal Heroes because it gives you 12 all attributes, right? That's pretty good because it now builds from Urn, 2 crowns, and a more expensive recipe. Maybe this is the Universal Hero item, kind of. Veil of Discord now does 200 damage to all barriers. So if someone is piped or glimmered, Veil does 200 damage to it. Pretty good. Neutral item. Arcane Ring was nerfed by 15 seconds on the cooldown, which is actually quite rough. I don't even know if I'd want to take the item now. That's pretty brutal. Duelist Glove got 2 damage. I thought this item was good. Faded Brooch gives less movement speed but more mana. Lancer Pursuit was buffed, slowing by 4% more on melee and 2% on range. Occult Bracelet, Occult Bracelet, people hate that I say Occult. I'm just gonna say it to make people mad. Occult Bracelet gives 5% less magic resistance, which is a lot less. Honestly, it's hard to say now. Is this better than Pigpole? Maybe still. Depends if you need to kite out. Oh, but Pigpole got nerfed by 1 all stat. Tough to say, guys, tough to say. Seeds of Serenity got buffed! This item is good! What are you guys talking about? This item is good. I don't know what you guys are saying. Alright, whatever, it's just better. Afterburn on Dragon Scale is no longer applied by illusions. Very good, you can't take racks 40 minutes in with Dragon Scale on Naga Siren. Very cool. Ring of Aquila got nerfed. Pretty sure this item sucked. I feel like I'm pretty sure what they base these things off of are usage rates. If based on my assumption is usage rates, because I feel like noobs take Aquila a lot. No offense, when the item is just, it's okay, but it's not that good. This is barely a nerf, but like, was it? It didn't even need it. Whatever. Specialist rate. This item, more all stats. It was already good. Once again, if you're a ranged hero, right clicker, even on melee heroes, like some universal right click melee heroes, like Meepo for instance, this is a wonderful item. Absolutely. Vambrace, the strength magic resistance reduced by 2%. Ceremonial Robe giving slightly less mana. Enchanted Quiver does a little bit more magic damage on hit. Ogre Seal Totem got, like, how in the world does Ogre Seal Totem get buffed? It's gotta be based on usage rates because there's no way, no offense, 2Ks take this item as much as they should. I don't know, no offense, but alright, Titan Sliver got nerfed a little bit, that seems fine. Vindicator's Axe, honestly not a terrible item, situationally good if the enemy team had a lot of stuns. Gives 20% slow resist, which is pretty nice in some games if they have a lot of slows. And Aesthetics Cap, if it gets procced, it now grants 40% slow resistance, so definitely a buff to this item, which is also not a terrible item. Havoc Hammer now pulls in nearby enemies by 100 units instead of pushing them away by 250 units. Wow, I would say that's a huge buff, because I honestly feel like pushing people away, unless you're trying to run away, which sometimes was the case, wasn't that good. I feel like being able to pull people to you is much better. For instance, if you're even, I don't know, playing like Sven, this is a nice item to take now, because instead of pushing them away from you, you pull them to you. Murderous Blade gives some magic resist, and now only redirects magic damage, which I would actually say is probably a good change because it gives this item gives magic resistance and redirects more and for longer. So if your team is getting bursted, this is probably a good item to take if you're a tank, because now at least you won't kill yourself from like physical damage. So yeah, if you have like pipe and then this thing, you'll have like a ton of magic resist and you can just soak it all for your team. It's definitely an option. Ninja Gear, I thought it would get removed, but okay. Fixed not providing smoke bonus movement speed when activated, so it got buffed there. Gives less agi and less movement speed. Still broken. Spell Prism, less mana. Okay, less mana regen by a decent amount. Trickster's Cloak, evasion bonus decreased, and magic resist. Okay, still a good item if you need to be tanky. Book of Shadows now only makes the target untargetable by enemies. Oh, so this is a huge buff to Book of Shadows, because now it only makes targets untargetable by enemies of the caster. So previously, if you used Book of Shadows on your teammate, even your allies couldn't Force Staff them or Eul's them or anything, which was kind of bad. So this is a huge buff to the item, like huge. They nerfed Book of the Dead. There's no way this thing's even that good. Okay, Fallen Sky sucked, so that's a reasonable buff. They should have buffed Stygian Desolator. That's what they should have done. Abaddon, cooldown on Mystical. These changes don't matter, no offense. Corrosive Weaponry on Alchemist, the max stack was decreased. However, if you're in Chem Rage, the movement speed slow and the status resistance reduction is now increased by 1.5% whenever Alchemist is in Chemical Rage, which is nice. That's actually a pretty big buff to that ability, so I would say it's a buff overall, because you're going to get to higher numbers faster. Ice Vortex, nerf to AA, which is a hero that recently was gaining popularity. Oh, kind of, not really though. The duration is, I mean, to be fair, did you really need 15 seconds of duration? Probably not. It's still a 12-second duration, which is great. And the radius is much bigger on vision, so you can see a lot with it, which is pretty damn good. And it's a huge buff to that, 60 more at max. So this hero is honestly maybe better. All right. Animage, oh god. Shard change now creates an illusion of Animage next to an enemy caster upon reflecting their spell. The illusion deals 75% damage, takes 100% damage, has duration. Oh, and a crit. Oh, no, that's good. So if you reflect someone's spell, it makes it an Animage illusion. That's pretty damn good. That can be really solid, because it doesn't die either. It only takes 100% damage, which is not obviously not high. Most illusions take like 300%. It's pretty good. Counter spell ally, new ability granted by Aghanim Shard, creates a counter spell shell around the targeted ally within 600 range. Okay, so it gives you a passive and it gives you a new ability, and the shell is similarly creates an illusion. Okay, you can click counter spell on an ally. I guess you just have to be good at like clicking Lotus Orb, kind of, you know what I mean? That's pretty good though. Keep in mind, the person still gets stunned. It's like Lotus, like AM counter. Wait, no, it's not. It's not like Lotus. It just blocks it entirely. I forgot. It doesn't. Yeah, no, it doesn't. So this is like pretty OP. It's like Mirror Shield if you use it at the right time. That's pretty good. Mana Void Radius at level 10? Damn. All right, interesting. Arc Warden. Tempest version no longer provides magic attack damage. Tempest version now provides base bonus attack damage. Okay, I think the reason they did that is so that the Manta isn't broken, I think. But didn't they nerf that last patch? I don't actually know. I guess this is good sometimes if you have like heroes that buff base bonus damage. I honestly don't know. Whoa! Tempest Double is now a point targeted ability with a 700 cast range that spawns the Tempest Double in the pointed area. So you can just spawn Tempest Double in the backline next to a support. That's pretty strong. It also helps you like scout hills if you want to. You definitely can at certain points in the game, so that's pretty damn good. They buffed the 10 talent, they nerfed the 15 talent, and nerfed the 20 talent. Axe now has less agi gain, but Spin does 15 more damage at level 1, the same at max, but 15 more at level 1 is a lot. So Spin is quite a bit better at level 1, much better in the laning stage. Brain Sap now works through BKB. Sleeping units now aren't awakened by any damage dealt by Bane, which is pretty nuts, because that means you can brain sap people who are nightmared, which is kind of nice, right? So that won't wake them up. I don't know what else this would apply to. Maybe if you have like a dragon scale for some reason, maybe that would wake them up accidentally. Maybe it still does actually. But Bane now gets granted attack speed. People are going to be tempted to play this as core. I don't think it's going to be good because it can't farm at all. Support Bane can kill people. That's all I'm going to say. If you have max nightmare, 45 attack speed, this hero can chunk. It can chunk. It would be tempting to go something like Gleipnir Bane or some crap, but I don't know. I'm not so sure. Batrider, Flame Blast was a little bit worse. Ability was reworked. Beastmaster summons a hawk that circles around him and dives onto an enemy within 500 range, dealing damage and rooting them. Hawk cannot be controlled, prioritizes heroes, and is killed upon Beastmaster's death. Has an attack interval of 4 seconds, but it scales with attack speed. Okay. Hawk duration is 25 seconds and the cooldown, and then it has a cooldown. So basically, it goes around him and it dies and it hits them, but then it comes back to you, because it hits every 4 seconds, because then it comes back to you and can it be killed? Oh yeah, it can be killed. And it has more health now and has magic resist, and it gives less XP at level 1. So you can use this during the lane to harass people or to disengage. Now Beastmaster can't like scout areas, right? I don't know, it seems kind of good in the lane. Like this seems like pretty useful to kill people in the lane or like protect yourself. But it's like, obviously, one of the main selling points of Beastmaster is his ability to scout anywhere on like a 30-second cooldown. And then in the late game on a 20-second cooldown with a shard, so kind of rough. Bloodseeker's Thirst got nerfed, Duration on Rupture got nerfed. Shadow Walk on Bounty Hunter, Aghanim Shard moved to a separate sub-ability. Friendly Shadow, new ability granted by Aghanim Shard. Applies Shadow Walk and all of its bonuses to target ally. Fade time 1 second. Casting this ability does not break invisibility or interrupt the target. Okay, I guess it just makes it more obvious if you have the shard. Base armor increased by 1 on Brew. That's pretty nice for a hero with pretty bad armor. Dealing or receiving magic damage also extends Brewmaster's own brewed up duration. What used to extend it in the past? I actually don't know. I tested this in the demo lobby actually. I tested some things, before making this video, and this is one of them. I don't know how it worked in the past because I personally didn't play this hero. Maybe someone could clarify in the comments. But the Brood Up lasts for, I believe, 5 seconds. 3 to 5 seconds. I'm sorry, I should know the number, but I don't. But then if you get nuked or you nuke someone, it extends that duration. Like, it resets it completely. It's actually quite significant. I think it's just straight up a buff because this ability can last way longer now. I don't think you could refresh it in the past. I'm pretty sure you couldn't. You just got to use it once. Now it just gets refreshed if you get nuked or if you nuke someone. So it's quite practical. And it's great for farming because now the Drunken Brawler Fire Stance grants 25 attack speed and it's tripled when you're Brood Up. So you get 75 attack speed. The crit chance is worse, but like not by a ton. So I really think this hero is kind of broken, to be honest. I actually believe like Brew is probably very good. I don't know. This is a lot of buffs. This is like a lot of buffs. And the fire one is way better for farming for sure, right? Pretty crazy. Viscous Nasal Goo, Aghanim Scepter upgrade removed. Aghanim Shard now increases stack limit by 3. Okay. Bristleback, whoa. So Bristleback is upgraded by Axe. Allows Bristleback to be point targeted. Bristleback turns his back towards the target direction and after 0.5 seconds, ejects 6 sequential quill sprays in a tight conical pattern out of his back at 0.35 second intervals. Bristleback is slowed down by 40% for the duration, disarmed, and cannot turn, but can still cast his spells in any direction. I'm gonna have to test this. I have no idea what to say. Hairball now applies 2 stacks of Nasal Goo and only 1 stack of Quill Spray. Okay, it used to be the other way around. So Brood lost 1 armor, but she gained 1 strength and gained Agi gain, and lifesteal from creeps is now reduced by 40%. Oof. And Silken Bola is worse. Ugh, this is pretty hard for Brood. If you're a pub player and you haven't learned Brood already, I wouldn't recommend learning it right now. Hoof Stomp, radius decreased by 25, but it now is instant. Now winds up for 0.5 seconds before the stomp. Oh, so it's not instant. It winds up beforehand. I guess you can cancel it. Center Worm Runner can move during this time but can't attack. Casting other abilities, using items, or issuing either hold down or cancel current action will cancel the cast. Okay, so basically it's kind of good, right? Because let's say someone has BKB in the late game and you don't want them to react, you can click Hoof Stomp and then blink on it, right? And it will give them a tighter window to react, which is good. They also buff Double Edge. It does a lot more damage at max, a lot more, on a lower cooldown. That's pretty significant actually. And now he has a new Axe. Does he still have the old Axe? Oh, wait, what? Center War Runner deploys and pulls a cart. That's like the old one. Gaining the Stampede buff for the first 4.5 seconds. While active, the Workhorse ability is replaced with the Hitch of Ride sub-ability. That can be activated with previous effect. What? I don't understand that, I'm not gonna lie. Chaos Knight minimum stun increased from 1 to 1.5. Actually, oh wow. It's better at level 1 and much better at max. Now it's a 2-second minimum at max, which is pretty nice. It also does potentially more damage at maximum damage too. So big buff there. Also Chaos Strike, creep damage multiplier from 1.5 to 1.6, which is pretty damn good as well. So decent sized buffs to Chaos Knight. I wouldn't say it's like anything insane, but it definitely helps the hero get some early kills, especially. Penitence now grants Chen bonus attack range on the target. What is this gonna be, right click Chen? It's good in the laning stage because if you Penitent someone, you can hit them from 50 units further, which is honestly nice. It's actually quite good, especially there. Aghanim Scepter Martyrdom cast range decreased from global to 1200. Aghanim Scepter Martyr can now be cast on enemies to damage them for the current values of Hand of God. Well, that's cool. So yeah, what is this, core Chen? Am I gonna nuke people with Chen? Buy Ags and nuke them? Maybe, I mean, it's a universal hero, right? I think. Is Chen universal? I can't keep track of this shit nowadays. Clinks! This is a hero a lot of people like. Aghanim Scepter now increases the number of hits to kill burning skeleton archers by 1. Okay, it's a slight buff there. Cooldown on Skeleton Walk from 18 to 24, 21, 18. So a bit of a nerf there. Burning Army Skeleton, so this is the Ags. The Ags got buffed. It spawns way faster and makes your death pack better. The cast range was decreased though. I don't think it makes the hero way worse, right? I mean, the ulti at level 1 kind of sucks. However, they buffed his 10 talent, so if you want Skeleton Walk cooldown, you can take that anyway. They nerfed the Tar Bomb, which is what people took. So to be fair, it does make you do way less damage at level 10 because you don't want to, like this got nerfed, maybe you want to take Skeleton Walk cooldown now so you can Skeleton Walk more? I don't know, hard to say, I'm not a Clinks player. It's not like this 10 talent's really much worse, but the question is, can you afford to have your skeleton walk on a 6-second longer cooldown at level 1? The answer is probably it's not the end of the world. I don't know. I bet Clinks is still good, is what I'd say. Clockwork, projectile vision range while traveling decreased from 600 to 250. Whoa. So Rocket Flare has a much harder time seeing people until it lands. But the Ags buffs the shard. Okay. Freezing Field, Aghanim Scepter now allows Crystal Maiden to move, attack, and cast spells. Oh, so that was the shard. Scepter time to Frostbite was nerfed though. Oh, but she got a new shard. It is called Crystal Clone. Crystal Maiden slides backwards 275 units, creating a crystal clone of herself in her place. Whenever the clone times out after 5 seconds, the current level of Frostbite is applied on all enemies within 300 radius. The clone is untargetable but can be damaged with an AoE effect. That's 150 HP. Wow, that's really good. It's on a 12-second cooldown and it lets you kite out. This is an insanely good shard and it's way better than the old shard, no offense. I feel like the old shard was generally bad. It was only good super late game when you bought like BKB Ags, but now it's just part of the Ags. And this shard is insanely good because it just lets you kite out, right? So it's like a Force Staff or like more like a Hurricane Pike. And leaving this clone is really good. It just can apply Frostbite in a pretty big radius of 300. It really zones out certain areas. So I would say a buff to CM for sure. Darkseer Vacuum worse at level 1, same at max. It surges more mana cost, and at normal punch, you have to run further if you want the max distance. So nerfs to Darkseer, but I wouldn't say the end of the world. Still definitely probably one of the best heroes. This is one of the craziest changes in the game. Bedlam is now a 900 range ally targetability. This is not the shard, this is not the axe, this is just part of the spell. You can just click Bedlam on your ally. Legion Commander going in for a duel, you can just click Bedlam on her and it will follow the Legion and do the same damage. It's really great. It's really, really, really great, right? It's extremely powerful and a 900 cast range is quite high, which allows you to stay in the backline as Dark Glow and not have to kill yourself. So this is a huge buff to a hero that I think deserved it, so very nice. Dawnbreaker got 1 armor. The cast point of Starbreaker got better. Aghanim Shard no longer improves the cast point though. And the stun on Solar Guardian now pierces debuff immunity. That's kind of good, right? That's pretty good. It can really save teammates who are getting gone on by a BKB target. That's pretty damn good. 1 base armor for a hero that already dominated the lane and buffing the cast point of Starbreaker. This hero is going to be spooky in the laning stage, that's for sure. She already is, but now she's even more spooky. Alright, mana buff to Shallow Grave, mana buff to Shadow Wave. Aghanim Scepter upgrade can now bounce between allies. I don't even know what this hero does. What does the Ags even do? Instances of health cost increased now stack independently of each other. Duration decreased. Wait, health cost increased, duration decreased from 30, 25, 20 to 20. A buff? That's gotta be a buff, right? Now it doesn't like destroy you percentagely. So this is definitely a big buff to Dazzle, right? This might be a huge buff to Dazzle. I don't really understand it. I'm not gonna try to say too much because I don't understand it. This is something I'd appreciate if someone can comment and explain it for anyone who's curious. Also at level 10 now, you get 300 points Poison Touch attack range, which is a great talent for being able to just kite people with Poison Touch. That's kind of a buff. For support Dazzle, it's a huge buff because that talent's kind of nuts. Kind of nuts. Death Prophet bonus movement speed by 5. I'm sorry, base movement speed by 5, and her ultimate does 3 extra damage per spirit, which is kind of nice because, you know, it hits often and a lot. And then they gave her a different 20 talent where Crypt Swarm applies is slow. 50% slow for 1 second. That's a level 20 talent? Are you kidding me? What a joke. What a joke. Thunderstrike. If the target is trapped inside the kinetic field, Thunderstrike now hits all other enemies inside of the field. Wow, that's kind of cool. Interesting. Weird, but interesting. Scorched Earth, now upgradable by Aghanim Shard. Heals Doom and controlled units for 60% of the damage values. Alright. I don't know what controlled units Doom typically has. Typically none, but alright. This is like not great. Aghanim Shard upgrade removed on Inferno Blade, that makes sense, but the stun was buffed. Okay. Doom no longer applies mute. Now makes the target unable to be healed. Doom is Ancient Apparition. Damage per second was buffed at level 2 and 3, same at level 1. And the cooldown's better. Very weird. Very weird. So it still silences, but you can use items. But you can't use Magic Wand, which is the main thing you would use to save yourself. Assuming you could use items and you're doomed, but you can't be healed. It's kind of good, but it's not a mute, which is so bizarre, because now someone can just BKB when they're doomed. All this kind of tells me is that Doom is now kind of niche, and he's like you basically would pick him when like you would pick Ancient Apparition. So like you can just Doom a Huskar and it will just kill him. Or like Doom a Leshrac that's being buffed by Io. It's like good against healing crap. So if you need to counter healing, I guess you could pick Doom. Alright, also they changed his talents. Oh, you lost a level 20 Doom cooldown. I guess it's not that bad actually because it's already reduced cooldown. So it's kind of okay. Yeah, it's really not the end of the world, I'd say. Because now you can take the other 20 talents. No, you know what? It's actually, no, it's kind of nice because Doom is a lower cooldown and the other 20 talent is really great. I mean, first of all, 1.8% Infernal Blade damage, which is the new 20 talent, is pretty good. And the other one is 12 seconds or 13 seconds of Scorch Earth cooldown. It would basically make it almost permanent uptime with Octarine. It is permanent uptime. And you can just like click Scorch Earth and have it constantly going. And now you can buff that with the shard too. It's not a great shard to be honest, but it's okay. I mean, I think Doom is fine. Like, it's just nicher now, basically. It's just kind of a niche hero, right? Because it's like not very good against something like Sven, who you'd want to prevent from BKBing, or Drow or something, you know? Now Drow can just click Hurricane Pike and Manta when doomed, which is so bizarre. Cast range during Dragon Form, so you can stun from further with DK. You get extra bonus movement speed when this is activated. His Corrosive Breath now does an extra 5 damage per second, which is certainly not nothing, and it does much more when you have Axe. So, okay, you get more movement speed, stuns better when you're in Dragon Form, which is actually kind of a big deal. It's good, just little DK buffs. Drow, when on Glacier, Marksmanship now isn't disabled by enemies in proximity. Whoa, that's crazy. Drow can now freely walk off the Glacier over the barrier. Wow, that's huge, because now if a hero's melee range, you can still shred them. The way to counter Drow is to get on top of her. Now she just clicks Great Glacier and man's up. That's a huge buff, but they nerfed the 25 talent, I think. Okay, Boulder Smash, creep damage multiplier increased from 1.25 to 1.4. I guess this lets you kill waves faster. And also, you are now completely untargetable and invulnerable while rolling. The hero is still vulnerable during the delay after the cast. Okay, so you can stun him right before he gets it off, but once he's rolling, you can't touch the hero and it can't be canceled, which is kind of a buff, right? It makes it way harder to stop this guy from getting on top of who he wants to or disengaging. So that's kind of nice. He also got a better 10 talent, more spell amp. It's not bad. Shaker got a pretty big buff. The first one is not a huge deal. Bonus attack range on Enchant Totem. It's all right. It's okay. You know, it's semi-useful for trading early on. But Aftershock, radius increased from 300 to 350. That is huge. That's really going to allow you to hit bigger echoes, right? Just get more people in your echo, more people in your Aftershock. It's definitely nice. They nerfed Elder Titan a little, which is kind of funny. Flame Guard radius is 50 bigger, so it's easier to harass with it and kill people with it. Fire Remnant, though, is a longer cast point. They nerfed the shard radius, which I thank God, because it was so annoying. And they nerfed, yeah, so they basically made it harder for him to Fire Remnant, but they buffed Flame Guard, which is actually pretty good for his laning stage and his ability to harass, especially ranged heroes with it. Enchantress lost 2 base damage. Now Aghanim Scepter increases number of max enchanted creeps by 1, previously was the shard. Okay, they nerfed Untouchable. It is now less attack speed slow. Little Friends, now granted by Aghanim Scepter, now also roots the target in place for 2 seconds, 0.5 seconds for each creep in range. Up to 5 seconds, wow. Now granted by Shard, that's Sproink. So now you can Sproink with the Shard. Targets decrease from 3 to 2. Additional enemy search range decreased from 200 to 100. Cooldown from 4 to 8 though. Kind of weird, right? I would say it's kind of nice because Little Friends was like, I wouldn't say it was bad, and the shard giving 2 creeps was actually really good. But the hero lost 2 damage, its ulti is worse at level 1. I wouldn't really recommend playing Ench if you're in a pub, but maybe core Ench is okay, honestly. Because like the shard is actually really nice for like core Ench. Demonic Conversion no longer cast on units, now has a no target ability that summons 3 Eidolons 100 units left, right, behind Enigma. What is it, random? Oh no, you get to choose. Now has a health cost in addition to its mana cost. Wait, so this just like kills Enigma, right? You just don't get to sack creeps now. What? And you have to hurt yourself to use it. What the hell? They just like removed Enigma from the game. That's ridiculous. All right, Faceless Void, pretty similar. All right, Grimstroke now refreshes when Phantom reaches Grimstroke rather than the moment Rend damage is dealt. Projectile speed increased from 850 to 1150. Inkswell buff duration increased from 3 to 5, which kind of seems bad at first glance. Can now be detonated via Ink's explosion sub-ability, but you can explode at any time. The sub-ability replaces Inkswell for the duration of the buff. Okay, that makes sense. Cooldown starts upon cast. Max stun duration increased, especially at level 1. Same at max though. the cast range is better. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think this makes Grim really much better. It does make it harder to like juke the Inkswell, I guess, or the explosion, right? It's like harder to time it and like BKB it or Manta dodge it or like phase shift it because you can pop it whenever, but you know, you still want to use it at the end. And yeah, I don't know. This doesn't seem that good. I can't imagine this is really that much of a buff to Grim, to be perfectly honest. All right, and final hero I'm going to cover in this video, I'm going to be doing a separate part on the rest of the heroes. This patch is just way longer than I expected. And yeah, so I'm going to break this video up into 2 parts and cover the remainder of the hero changes there. Now grants Gyrocopter 20. So if you're using Rocket Barrage, now grants Gyrocopter 20, 30, 40, 50% slow resistance. That's pretty crazy. 50% slow resistance for the duration of Rocket Barrage. It is much, much harder to slow this hero. Much, much harder to slow this hero. Wow. Radius increased from 1,000 to 1,250, so Flak Cannon is way better at hitting heroes in team fights. It also grants bonus night vision, so if you couldn't see someone, maybe you will, and maybe you will hit them with Flak Cannon at night. And the Aghanim Scepter Side Gunner now attacks an additional target when Flak Cannon is active, 2 targets at the same time. That's pretty nuts. If you have Ags going and Flak Cannon going, it does way, way, way more damage now. Right? Because that extra Ags hit will also flak, right? When Flak Cannon is active, the Ags will also do an extra hit. It will hit an extra target, which is huge, right? Way better for farming, way better for fighting. This hero is just way, way, way better. I mean, this is a massive gyro buff, something it deserved, but pretty crazy. But I'm going to end the video there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'm very excited for this patch. Also, subscribe to the channel and like the video if you're looking forward to a build to try. I'm going to be going through what people are trying, what pro players are trying, and then I'll make a very in-depth and extensive guide on basically how you should be building new heroes, what the item buildup should be, what the skill build should be, and how you should be looking to play those heroes. So yeah, if you want that, if you're interested in that, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the Game Leap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!